What do you feel like parents need to understand right now?
The most important thing they need to understand is that the entire process flipped completely upside down a year, 2 years ago, and nothing is the same as when they went to school.
What do you feel like brings out the most stress to them?
I think it's when they are trying to help their child and they don't have a clue how to do that. I would say be courageous. Have the courage to let your children take their journey, make it about them, inspire them, cheer them on, and know that where they go and what happens next will change your family for generations to come in an amazing way. Every journey to college should be amazing, and that's what we want for your whole family, not just your child.
Today, I'm sitting down with my friend Cindy Nash, who is a college admissions coach with over 20 years of experience. In this conversation, Cindy and I break down what actually has changed. So, if you know somebody or you have a kid that's going to be getting ready to go to college, whether they're a junior in high school or whether they are just about ready to kick out there, sit back, kick back, and relax, for this is the School of Influence. Hey, Cindy, welcome to the School of Influence. I'm so glad that you're here.
Thanks, Devin. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. So, quick question before we get completely serious. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, how stressed are most parents by the time they actually come and reach out to you about college admissions?
Typically, they are at 10. They are about to explode. They just have lost their minds about what to do next because
Yeah.
everything is so different.
Yeah, so that's exactly why this conversation matters. So I want to start like right there. So a lot of parents are at this time beginning to think about preparing their kids for college, the same way that they always have. But from what I've heard from you, there's been a number of things that have changed, whether it be from perspective or from the college admissions standpoint. What do you feel like parents need to understand right now? Well, pardon the interruption, but let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like your story was meant to impact thousands or millions of lives, but you literally just didn't know where to start? Did you know that there's over 2.9 billion people watching social media every single day? That's literally the biggest stage in the entire world. And yet most people are completely invisible on it. Why? Because they don't know how to tell their story in a way that actually connects to other people. And that, my friends, is exactly why I created Stories to Stages. We help you craft your entire story, professionally edit your video, and then we publish it across all major platforms. Plus, I'm going to give you access to my entire storytelling bootcamp. This is over $25,000 worth of value, but right now you can get the entire thing for just $7. $7. Because this isn't just a course, this is a launching pad. We've helped people with no audience, no experience, finally share their story with confidence and to get real reach. Because your story told in the right way involves and moves people. So go to stories2stages.com and grab your $7 spot with the code of podcast1. Your story was not meant to stay silent. So let's get seen, let's get heard, let's get paid, and let's set people free. So go to stories2stages.com, grab your $7 spot, and use the code podcast1 and get yours today. Now, back to the show.
The most important thing they need to understand is that the entire process flipped completely upside down a year, 2 years ago, and nothing is the same as when they went to school.
Wow. So as people are thinking about those types of things, as they're thinking about their kids going to school, What do you feel like brings out the most stress to them?
I think it's when they are trying to help their child and they don't have a clue how to do that because this is such a complex maze of things that have to be done in the right order at the right time, and they don't know where to start. They're in a panic because they think they're too late. I had a parent call this week who said, I am losing my mind. I don't know what to do. I know I've messed up. I'm too late. Her daughter is a second semester junior.
Hmm. Hmm. Wow. So I know we're going to dive into some practical steps, things to be able to do, and really excited to do that later on in the show. But so as these people reach out to you, where do you see let's just say, consequences show up first in their lack of being motivated to get them help, to be able to start the admissions process, scholarships, the stress inside the home? Like, where do you see those consequences really show up first?
I think they show up first and foremost in the relationship between the student and their parents. By now, by junior year, the boiling point has risen, and there is so much angst within the house. Have you done this? Have you done this? What are you doing about this? Blah, 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 blah. It's like two talking heads, and the kids don't know what to do, and the parents are totally lost. And where before COVID, the high school counselors used to be able to prep the parents up to a degree, they don't have time for that anymore. They are too busy dealing with all the other chaos in the classroom, in the schools. And so, yes, there are some private elite schools that do a great job of getting their kids ready, but the majority of people don't go to those schools.
Mm.
And so the parents really need just to take it down a level. What they're finding out is come junior year, you didn't really talk about it much in 8th grade, ninth grade, 10th grade. And so the kids don't have in their brain the dream that the parents have had since the day the child was born.
Mm.
And so we need to give it to them.
Yeah. That's so good, and it comes back to the whole part of influencing our families and why that's important, why we as parents or as even online influencers or speakers or coaches, that we are carrying an amount of influence for the teens who maybe probably don't even know any better, and we get to set that example for them. So what do you see as maybe some of that shift being, um, whether parents that, let's just say, your generation compared to my generation is completely different of what it looked like for you to go to college, then it looked like for me to go to college, and now me getting ready to send my kids to college, what that gets to look like. What have you seen in that type of journey?
When I went to school, I was told, you're going to a state school, pick one out. Literally, that's what I was told. Because back then, there was no financial aid or it was very minimal. Then your generation came, and we, the parents, um, probably coddled you guys a little bit too much, gave you everything we could think to give you. But when you went to school, you did have to take the tests, you did have to write the essays, but it was not nearly as cutthroat as it is today. Today, there's so much fake news and so much misinformation out there. And your generation has done a great job with your children. But unfortunately, I have found, and this is not a criticism of any parent, um, some of these kids have never heard the word no. And so when you go through the college admissions journey, they are going to be told no by many schools. And so it's a shock to the student. They've lost their dream because that wasn't instilled from day one in every household. Parents feel like school is so expensive now, they can't even begin to afford it in the first place, which is wrong. There's so much money out there for kids to go to school. And we think that state schools are cheaper than private schools. That too is incorrect because the private schools have so much money and they want to give it away. So there's so much weird stuff that you just don't know without getting some insight from someone who does.
Yeah. Wow. That's incredible. To even just think about the difference of our mindsets, and not to mention what the kids' mindsets could be in regards to paying for school, what those opportunities are. One of the things I've heard you say in the past is about, you know, qualified students are getting kind of overlooked, and maybe there's some consequences of systems that worked in the past that now don't. Can you kind of talk a little bit more about what systems aren't working and what systems are working?
I would love to. So, up until 2 years ago, if you committed to a school through early decision, which is binding, meaning if you get in, you go, or early action, you knew that you were a big fish in a small pond versus waiting for regular decision where there can be 40,000 other people in that pond. And that's how you get overlooked. If in the past there was a qualified student, the schools love that you want to go there. And so they admit many schools, the majority of their class from early action and early decision. But 2 years ago, because of the new money that's available through athletics, the schools started admitting their athletes through early decision and early action, especially early decision, because then they knew the student had to come. And so that took a lot of spots away from students who normally could have gotten in through early decision. And it flipped the whole system upside down. Many schools went back to it requiring test scores. They hadn't wanted test scores for years because of COVID. So that bubble has burst, it's gone. And if we don't get the test scores, we need to find the people that can help our students. It's not rocket science for schools to teach to the ACT and SAT test. And that makes all the difference. I encourage schools to have a 5-minute your ACT moment today in every math class and every English class. Do they do it? Most don't because they don't want to acknowledge that they're not getting their kids ready for the tests.
Mm.
Hard.
Wow.
It's tough.
It sounds like there is that drastic change in the entire system as a whole. And while we can, disintegrate and decipher all the different changes in the actual system, let's pivot a moment and kind of talk a little bit about the parents' role and the relationship between parents, because you work closely with both the students and so where do you see fear influencing the decision in that college process, even when parents genuinely want what's best for their kids?
Well, let's face it, there's so much difficulty in the world around us right now. Things can be scary. And for a parent to send their child far away to go to college when they're seeing a lot of negative press about going to college is frightening. It is. We also, I had a mother say to me once years ago, if I had known they were taking my child from me 18 years later, I never would have had him because he was going away to the Air Force Academy. And the reality is, we raise our children so they can fly and become amazing adults. And most parents want more for their children than what they have had in life, right? I certainly did. And so it's critical that parents become courageous in this journey. And having a professional help allows the professional to take away all the angst out of the household so that it's on me to say, this has to be done. Have you done this, this, and this? And the parent can just say, how was your day? And are you keeping your grades up? The other part of this story that changed was until 2 years ago, schools would read the essay first. They wanted to really know about the student. The essay is their only time they hear the student's voice. But now they look at the test scores. That's okay. They then look at grades. They are what they want. They then read the essay just to make sure there's no egregious errors and to learn something about the student. It's a 180, the whole thing flipped upside down.
Mhm. Wow. For those of you listening and watching this, I want you to comment in the comments below and give us an understanding of where you're at as a parent. And do you have a child that's getting ready to go to college? Do you have friends that have parents getting ready to go to, or kids getting ready to go to college? What does that look like for you as you're listening to this conversation? And Cindy, when it comes to working with people and understanding the parent and child relationship, like what you were talking about, why does this matter so much to you? Because it's not just a college admissions project or job that you have to be able to help people. I know that there's a heart and a passion behind that. So give us a quick snippet of why this is so important for you, because it's something that you have experienced. And so it's something that you are helping other people be able to walk through it in a much better, easier, fun way.
Yeah. Well, I worked for over 20 years at Northwestern and Vanderbilt universities. And every move in day and every graduation day, I was a basket case. I know how hard it is to let our kids go. My youngest son went away to the University of Southern California as a senior in high school. I was in Chicago at the time. So I sent my baby all those many, many miles away from me, and it tore me to pieces. I remember those feelings vividly. It is so critical to me and my heart that I keep harmony in the household. I want you to cherish senior year with your kids. I want it to be the year where you change the paradigm in the house and let that child, spread his wings or her wings a little bit, test their boundaries, and you're there to catch them when they're seniors, because when they're freshmen, they're on their own. So this is the year that it should be about changing how you speak to your child, treating them more like a young adult, helping them learn to stand on their own 2 feet. This is their journey to college, but it rips the whole paradigm in a household apart, because when any family member leaves, everything shifts. And so I also work hard with the parents to help them deal with their emotions in this journey and to help them understand that I've got him. I'm like any other teacher or coach. I'm going to take great care of their child in our meetings, but they have to just honor the process and allow their children the autonomy to grow. You guys already had your chance to go to school. You had your experience. The worst thing I ever hear a parent do is say constantly, "Well, when I went to school, we did it this way. Well, when I went to school, this is what happened. This is how we did it. I want you to change your essay to say this, not this." But then that becomes the parent's essay, the parent's story, not the child's. And there's so much inner pressure that they're putting on their student that they don't even realize by doing that, that the kid is just absorbing all that pressure and saying, "Oh my gosh, I have to do it this way. If I don't go to their school, they're going to be brokenhearted." Let them fly. They are a tremendous testament to your life's work. Let
Yeah.
them show you how great they are.
I love that. I love that. And I love the examples of, way that we do influence our kids by putting that pressure. And even though we probably don't notice it, we don't recognize it in the moment, we're not recognizing that that's what we're doing. But it truly is putting squeezing that pressure into them of something they're already afraid and maybe a little excited, but to be able to go and do things on their own and, you know, kind of leave the nest egg and, live life and try and figure it out on their own. But at the same time, there's fear. And so that pressure definitely hurts. How would you encourage a parent to reframe some of those negative aspects so that it's put into more of an encouragement while still, parenting them and guiding them in the right way?
I think the greatest thing you can say to your child is, "What do you want to do with your life?
Mm.
If you could be anything, what do you want that to be?" If you could go to any school, what school would that be? Erase where I went, erase where dad went. Just tell me, where do you want to go? And then tell them if you can get in, we will do everything we can to make that happen. I know the students working with me have gotten millions of dollars in scholarships, but you have to know where the money is and you have to know how to make that happen. The number one thing I can say to a parent is make sure they are making their grades because it's all about grades. From this point forward, we can't rewrite history, but you have got to inspire them, not belittle and humiliate them into making the best grades they are capable of making.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I believe that we all know as parents how important grades are. And I think it's hard as parents to be able to put that into the kids' terms so they really understand the impact of their choices that they're making in this moment. And so we know that grades are important and, there's some essays to be able to do and, a long list of things to be able to implement that even just at the very beginning. But I want to bring back to one thing that you said about not pushing where you went to school on your kids. So what would you say to a family that a student doesn't get into their first choice or second choice school? How do you help families reframe that moment without seeing it as a complete failure?
Well, first of all, I tell my students I do not want them to emotionally attach themselves to any school until they get in because there are no guarantees in the world today. Everywhere you think you should have been able to get in from 2 years ago till now, it's totally flipped upside down.
Mm.
Do my students still get into the top schools? Absolutely. I already have a student admitted to Yale, one going to Wesleyan, and one going to Bowdoin next year. And that's just the early decision stuff. Um, it matters that they understand, and I'm a Christian coach, Devin. So this is how I approach working with my students. I don't care what religion my students are. I help Muslim students, Hindu students. I work with every student in this country. And the reality is, we don't know what's going to happen. So, as a result, I pray over my students and I pray that God's hand will be in their journey. And I know that they are going to end up where they are supposed to be. And the funding that they need will also show up so they can go there, even if that's not where they think they should be. So, when I'm working with my students, I had one just get denied from Harvard. And he was like, oh man. And I said, go have your 10-minute pity party. I tell them to go in the shower and cry for 10 minutes and then they have to move on. It's that
Mm.
simple. The parents need to do the same. If you wanted your child to go to, let's say, Florida and they don't get in, go cry in the shower for 10 minutes and move on. And please don't let your kids see how disappointed you are. It's not their fault. Everything has changed. So you have to believe in them and believe that there's a bigger hand in this journey. Kids always end up where they're supposed to be. And by that, I mean there's a professor that's going to help them do research that will change something in this world or lead them to a different medical school, law school, graduate, PhD work. Um, and maybe their future spouse is at this school, but not that one. We don't know the difference that that makes. But I can tell you this, going to college will change the future of your family for generations to come.
Mm. Wow, that's powerful. And what it sounds like you're describing really reframes this as a whole leadership moment for parents. It's more than just a college process of what it looks like to help them be able to get in and to teach them and grow them in ways that they'll be successful. But let's take things and let's just shift it and let's make it practical. So for the parents listening who feel overwhelmed, they don't know where to start, they don't even know when to start. We want to help them be able to understand what actually matters first. And I know that this is exactly what you do. And so if a family does feel overwhelmed, Let's just start off at the very beginning. When should they start thinking about college with their kids?
Okay, don't laugh. I think they need to start talking about college in kindergarten. I know that sounds crazy, but if you don't create that vision for them from the get go, and so that they know what college is and they know, oh, you went to the doctor today. How do you think that person became a doctor? Do you think doctors help people? Do you want to help people? I have many, many grandchildren, and I get down at their level and we have this conversation. The other thing is making grades. You have to learn in elementary school how to study. Many, many students with learning disabilities never know they have them till first semester junior year in high school. Why? Because they are so smart, they don't have to study till then. They've been able to fake it till they made it, and suddenly everything is spiraling.
Hmm.
It's not anybody's fault, it's just something that they're dealing with. But they need a professional to step in and help. I went through this in my whole own household. I had a gifted learning disabled student, my middle son. And so it's like, what is happening? We didn't know because he was so smart, he never had to open a book. So I would encourage parents to really talk about, you give them the best coach, you give them the pitching coach for softball, you give them the vocal coach, the acting coach, the shooting coach. For basketball, you give them all the coaches. You pay all that money for the best of everything for your children, but they need a coach for this too, because you're not an expert at college admissions. They've never even thought about it or know what to do. So, at the very least, have a sincere conversation with any college counselor that's at the high school. High schools are the great first step, but then reach out. When you don't know something, you always send them to the best person to help them. There are many people like me that do this. Um, it matters.
Yeah. Yeah. When is the first time that you feel like it's the most important to reach out to a coach to be able to help them with college admissions like yourself? When would be the ideal time? Is it freshman year? Is it after they graduate? When's that first time when you're like, okay, we got to start setting this into place?
I would love, in a perfect world, I love to get them the summer after eighth grade or the spring of eighth grade. That's the perfect scenario. If not, freshman year is wonderful because I'm able to just say, look, what is your vision? I don't know what it is. Students tell me everything. They tell me way more than I want to know many times, but I am a safe person. I am certified under the Federal Protection of Minors Act. I work under those paradigms, so I am that safe person they can trust. It's a fiduciary relationship between the student and me. I will not betray their trust unless I think there is some danger involved. But they can tell me honestly what they're thinking. And I'm safer in some ways, they feel, than their parents because I'm not going to say, well, what about where I went to school? What about the state school? And they implode because they keep hearing the same tape from their parents. And nope, it's no harm, no foul. But, I always ask the parent for their college list of where they want their child to go. And then I ask the student for their college list where they would like to go. There's always a few overlap schools, but they're typically vastly different. And then I make my list based on their credentials and where I think will be a good fit. And finding the college fit matters more than anything because if your child gets into a top school in this country and hates it, they are going to not do well there. So you have to put boots on the ground and do those visits. But they can start freshman year too. Spring break is a perfect time to visit colleges, and it really allows for open communication. it's also a great time to start realistically sharing with your children the financial realities within your household.
Hmm.
That's a tough one. You're like, "Well, I pay the bills. It's none of their business. Why do they need to know?" Well, they need to know because A, they're going to have to manage their own finances in the future. And B, they need to understand what the limitations are. Yes, they can get scholarships, and we fight so hard for those. Right now, my students for next year have already gotten over $1.2 million in scholarships. There's many more coming. It's so crazy. My 4 students that we already have their outcomes. One has a full ride to Spelman, and the other 3 that I already shared, they aren't gonna pay a penny. So the money is there, and there are special organizations to help also. And it is such a fallacy to think that an in-state school is cheaper than a private because the private schools have so much in endowments that they want to give away to get your children to come there.
Mm.
So I have a comparative cost analysis spreadsheet where they can, put it all on paper and really find out that, hey, we can go to any private we want because they're going to pay us the $90,000.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? $90,000 for a year's school. Ooh,
That is. That is. It's so crazy to think about all the different opportunities that are out there that, maybe we as parents even overlook or don't think about or check off a list and say, yeah, that one's not reachable. But what I hear you saying is that there is possibilities and that there is opportunities to be able to do it if you know how to do and be able to work along with the system that's been put into place. And I think that is so important. Let me ask you this. There's all different types of students. There's the athletes, there's the people that love doing studios and acting, and then there's, the loners that don't have any friends and don't want to do anything in life, and maybe there's the gifted students. What do you feel like where do you feel like parents struggle the most, and where do you feel like you help the most with helping parents that feel overwhelmed in this process based on where their kid kind of is?
I think the ones that struggle the most are the parents of learning disabled students. I'm working with dyslexic students, autistic students, students who have nonverbal organizational disabilities that shows up typically in foreign language and math. And you have to know how to navigate that with their future school. You want to give them a heads up, but you don't want to just blurt it all out. There's a fine line, and that's why it matters. The students tell it in their essay. Um, I talked about the essay a little bit, but here's what parents don't understand. This is a different type of writing. If here's the sad truth. With 70,000 applications, an admission officer has about 15 minutes to spend on each application. So they look at the test score, they look at the grades. But if you want to grab their attention, you have to have a specific type of essay. I'm a professional writer and editor. I trained with the top person in this country on public speaking. And so there's a different way to tell the story. I'm the only person in the country that does it this way. My students get into every top school in this country, regardless of some of their other circumstances. I just had a top school in this country waive my students' requirement for a test score. They require a test score. She's an athlete. They really want to look at her seriously, and they know she was from rural America. There are different scholarships available from rural America, from families who make less than 65,000. There's a program out there that will match you with a top school, and the top school will pay everything for 4 years. That's Questbridge. There's Posse scholarships. So I think the most important thing is that you get somebody to talk to. I never charge to have a conversation with someone. I just want the parent to be fully informed as they are trying to help their child. Many of these kids feel like they're not good enough. There's a statistic on how many kids could get into school but never apply because they don't think they can. I don't have the latest number, but it used to be like 40%.
Wow.
They don't even try to go to school. What's up with that? And that's where the parents come in. Please believe in the process. Believe that you've equipped your children to be well able to go away to school. Unless they're going to live in your basement their whole life, you've got to allow them that empowerment to go and start being an adult.
I love it.
And that's what college is.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so good and it's so practical of ways that we as parents and influential people get to have over the younger generation. But let's talk about a few practicalities, all right? So parents are ready, they know that they need to do it. They're beginning to get overwhelmed. They feel like they're behind. What are a few of the priorities that they should focus on? Not like everything, but what are the things that actually matter most to at least get started with the college application process?
Okay. So that's a great question, Devin. First and foremost, wherever you are in this journey, talk about grades and explain that grades are the ticket to freedom. Here's what I mean. If your child has a great test score, like above 30 on the ACT, above 1500 on the SAT, but their grades are Bs, there's a problem. And there's a discrepancy there. It cannot be made up. Okay. That gap cannot be explained other than the student either had a disability that wasn't diagnosed or didn't try, didn't care. However, the reverse of that, if the student has straight A's, but not quite as good a test score, the grades trump the test score because they are proof of the ability to succeed. Okay. If your child has the option between dual enrollment and APs, and parents don't panic if they're in all dual enrollment, it'll be fine. But you always want to take the AP. Why? Because not every school will honor the dual enrollment credit. In-state schools typically do. But if it's something that they took that was required to graduate, many colleges don't give extra credit for that. However, if they take an AP class and they take the AP test and they make anywhere from a 3 to a 5 on that test, the college will give them college credit for that and exempt them from certain classes. So always opt for the toughest class your child can take. When I worked at Vanderbilt, my boss was always asked, so should we take the honors class and make A's or the AP class and make B's? The answer? Take the AP class and make an A. End of story. And that's on you guys. I want to say one thing about parenting that I am witnessing everywhere right now. Because we want to never say no, and because we kind of hold tightly to our kids, think of what we've been through. We've been through COVID. I'm in Nashville. We've been through tornadoes. We've been through parts of hurricanes, and now we just finished having a massive ice storm. You are in control of their car keys, their cell phones, and the power cord to the gaming console.
Mhm.
You are not supposed to be your child's best friend. You are supposed to be their parent. You are their authority. And that is a God-given gift. And it is so clear that saying no, that taking those things away, if they are not making their grades, if they are not doing the things you require of them in the household,
Mhm.
why are you letting them control of that? If they're going to act like a 10-year-old, we're going to treat them like a 10-year-old and take it away. And then when they can come back to the table and say, okay, I'm so sorry, I'm ready to act like my age, give it back. Am I tough? I am tough. I raised 3 sons. And that's how things were in my house. Grades mattered. We lived in a very successful area on the North Shore of Chicago. My kids went to a prep school. And so we paid a lot of money that we didn't necessarily have to make
Mm.
that happen. And it was their responsibility to show up for themselves. And that's what grades are. They are showing up for themselves. You have to do that at your jobs. Why are we expecting less from our students?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And a good plan and impartation for parents out there to make sure that we're doing our part in that as well. Cindy, it's been awesome having this conversation. I want to be able to have the listeners and the viewers be able to know where to be able to find you and follow you. But before we do that, where are some simple links that people can go to be able to start this process? Some places that can get them with their foot in the door.
A great tool is provided by the College Board, and it is called bigfuture.org. Okay, so go to bigfuture.org, have your student do this, not you, and have them create their College Board login. If they haven't, I strongly urge your children to create use the same email and password for every single journey that they have to do in the college admissions process. I had one poor student make a spreadsheet because she made a different password for each school. I'm like, do you think they're going to go hunting you down? Make it simple. I believe in that KISS method to keep it simple. So that's critical. But the College Board's Big Future allows you to put in different dynamics for a school: test scores, grades, distance from home, and a lot of other characteristics. And then it'll tell you which schools meet that criteria. I would encourage parents to have conversations, just the two of them, and make sure that both of the parents are on the same page. If one parent says, oh my gosh, if they can get into Harvard, we're going to make that happen. And the other one says, well, we've only budgeted this much money for college and I don't want them that far away, that creates marital angst. We do not want that. You have to really be on the same page and have a united front. If you're disagreeing about something, please go to your room and talk privately where the child cannot hear you. But when you're talking to your son or daughter, be united in believing in them, inspiring them. Make it their story. Please don't make it about you. Don't make it about what you went through. Make it about them, and this is their future, and it will change your family. And if they can see that you believe in their future, they are going to have a future differently. And it matters so much that you be on their team. That's all they want. They want mom and dad on their team. And when it doesn't happen, I'm the one that gets to mop up the tears. And believe me, that does happen. So go for it. Be proud of all that they've accomplished. Be proud of yourselves as parents. Even if you're late to the party, you haven't failed. Just cheer them on like you would in a football game or a basketball game or a swimming meet. Be their number one advocate and their cheerleader and make it happen. If you need help, get that help, because this is like learning a foreign language. And it is such a complex maze of tasks. The last two places I want you to look at are commonapp.org. That is the application they have to fill out. They can actually fill that out now as a junior. And then when it flips to the new one in August, it will pull all that information in. Okay. But it'll also let you see what's involved. Don't do any of the schools, just do the Common App information. And then lastly, look at the FAFSA, FAFSA, and see financially what they're going to ask. They are going to look at so the students that will apply next fall, because this is 26, they're going to look at the 24 maybe 25 tax return, but it's prior year, which is weird. So go to FAFSA.org and look at those requirements. That will give you an idea of what they think you're going to get financially. But I really want you to take one thing to heart, and that is the money is there. If they can achieve the dream of getting admitted, we will do everything in our power to find the money to make it happen. And if you've been honest with your student and let them know what that really looks like, they're going to be all in. Maybe they'll get a summer job. Maybe they'll get a paid internship. It all matters. And you, as parents, need to be courageous and let them fly.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So people are overwhelmed with the process. How can they get a hold of you? They want to have a conversation. They want to know what's next, or they just want to say, help, 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 help. What's the best way they can find you and be able to find you on social media as well?
I would love to meet with any of them. No obligation, no charge, just to help them kind of settle down their brains and figure out where they are and where they should go. My website is Amazing Journey College Counseling. I know it's long, but that's what it is. .com. And so amazingjourneycollegecounseling.com, all one word. On Instagram, I'm Amazing Journey College Counsel, SEL. It didn't let us add the ING. And on Facebook, I'm also Amazing Journey College Counseling. So look for me there. Send me private messages. I would love to hear from you. If you want to just send me an email, the best one is amazingjourneycc@gmail.com. That's different than you get on my website, but that I'm going to see that instantly. I'm here for you guys. I'm honored to walk this journey with you, and I'm happy to speak at schools. I never charge a school to come and meet with parents, students, staff, any of that. So it's just an honor and a privilege to be part of the journey.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, so highly recommend any of you viewers and listeners out there, if you are getting close to kindergarten through graduation, it sounds like, looks like it's a great opportunity to start the conversation and what that gets to look like as your relationship, your influence with your children. So there's so many of you guys that are ready to be able to move forward with this. And so we thank you, Cindy, for jumping in here and sharing with us all these things. So as we come to a close, what is one thing that you want parents to walk away with from this conversation, from one decision, one mindset, one truth? What would you want that to be?
I would say be courageous. Have the courage to let your children take their journey, make it about them, inspire them, cheer them on, and know that where they go and what happens next will change your family for generations to come in an amazing way. Every journey to college should be amazing, and that's what we want for your whole family, not just your child. You can do this, parents. You've done such a great job, and your children are a tremendous testament to your life's work. Let them shine.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So if you're a parent and you're watching this and you are feeling overwhelmed, here's what I want you to hear clearly from our conversation that we've had today. The goal isn't to control every outcome. The goal is to steward this season well for you and for your family. We know that the college admissions has changed, and pretending that it hasn't only creates more stress for you and for your kids. Clarity doesn't come by doing more things. It comes from gaining an understanding, reaching out for help, and understanding what actually matters and leading from that place. That's what influence looks like. And at this stage, it looks like courage and structure and willingness to let your children step out into the ownership of who they're called to be needs to happen with guidance and not pressure. So don't rush past the conversation that you get to have with your children on what it looks like to having the amazing journey of going into college. So I suggest go back, rewatch parts of this episode that stood out, but also pay attention to where fear may be driving the decisions that you have and that you get to make instead of clarity. Because the one way that you lead from here on out is more than just college outcomes. It's actually shaping the confidence. It's shaping the maturity and the trust that you get to have inside of your children, with your children. That's influence that's well worth stewarding overall. So Cindy, thank you for joining us today. I strongly suggest jumping out there, checking her out with her website and her social media links. But for today, school is dismissed, but your influence never takes a day off. So stay bold, stay focused, and go and leave your legacy. Bye.